Hey Adam, good morning for me, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Hey, Ray, how's it going?
Doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, good to have you on. Appreciate being able to connect with you and then getting a chance to talk about kind of a new platform, new tools that haven't been discussed before on the channel. So
Excited about it.
yeah, I think this what I'll start with is probably a chance for you to maybe do a little introduction about yourself, give us a chance to chit chat a little bit, kind of mention kind of who you are, what you do, share any personal anecdotes or information about yourself if you want to, and we'll chat for a bit, and then some point to kind of naturally segue into the topic of the day.
Awesome, love it. Okay, so my name is Adam. I am Plotly's senior developer advocate, and I've been with Plotly since 2021. And I actually started my informal journey with Plotly in around 2020, 2019, because I started working with Plotly and using Plotly and Dash for my previous job. And then I started teaching Plotly and Dash on my YouTube channel. And then I started participating and managing the forum, answering all these questions on the forum. And then after 2 years, I saw this role open, and I applied for it as a community manager, and that's when I started officially with Plotly as a community manager. And that's my role right now as a senior developer advocate. My responsibility is to talk to people around the world, make them aware of the open source and freemium products that we have, and encourage them to use it, and then help them, support them while they're using it, and then spread the word. So it's meetups, it's conferences, it's answering questions on the forum, it's newsletter, or blog posts, and things like this, what I'm doing with you right now, Ray. That is mostly what I'm doing.
It sounds like you get a good chance to meet a lot of people and get pretty involved with the community, being in that role too.
I do. That's why I love it so much, because it's all about the community, right? What can I do? What can Plotly do to make your lives better, to make your lives easier, specifically your data analysis and data visualization roles, right? And so the most fun part is being able to see and meet new people, going to different meetups, whether it's in person or online. We do like a once a month meetup, and talk to people like you, right? And discover new communities that kind of complement each other, In this case, Power BI,
Mhm.
data analysis with Plotly.
Out of curiosity, before the kind of the community involvement in this current role, were you doing something similar in the previous positions that you were in, or was this more like a pivot for you?
It was slightly a pivot from the non because I was in a nonprofit role, but it was very similar. It was community based as well because I was at Big Brothers Big Sisters of New York City, so it was youth development. But I was working with the volunteer department. I was managing the volunteer department. So intake, applications, interviews, and getting them ready
Mm.
to become Big Brothers or Big Sisters. So my whole role was in recruitment. My whole role was to really engage volunteers and get them to participate in our program. So it has some similarities.
Nice. Okay. So some overlap, but certainly strengthening some new skills and muscles when you entered this one.
Yeah.
Very nice. When and speaking on the concept of Plotly, like for people who are familiar with the channel here, and I'll mention we've talked about it a little bit over the years, primarily in some of the custom visual extensions. I think the last time we had any live stream related to it was it was one of the Plotly custom visuals that let you build out of your UI, like all the various different types of charts and everything. I think there was some 3D ones in there back in
Yeah.
2021. That was, you could do like spatial mapping and some other
Yeah.
cool stuff that Kerry Kolasco demonstrated. So a little bit of experience, but I'm sure myself and a lot of the other people haven't really dug into Plotly Studio or any of that newer stuff that does a bit of that LLM and like agentic type. Here's some requirements. Here's the model. Build a dashboard for this. And
Right.
now, since we're now getting into a lot more like code first type
Right.
report development, so where do you want to start the conversation with that?
So what I was thinking of doing, Raid, is, and if you want to pivot in a slightly different direction, let me know. But giving like a brief overview of Plotly, right, for your audience who
Sure.
have never heard of Plotly, and then our open source products with Dash, and then introduce Plotly Studio, which is what we're going to demo today, and how we connect to our Power BI semantic models, and then give a demo. Be a theory of 1 minute or 2 minutes about Plotly Studio, and then give it demo to show the audience and our viewers what this is actually all about.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do that.
Cool. So Plotly was founded in 2013, and as you mentioned, right, it's a data visualization library, right? You can use everything. You can use over 100 different graph. Let me actually can I actually share a screen because I have the Plotly
Sure. There we are.
screen up. So this is Studio, but we'll go into the graphing library. So this is Plotly graphing library. This is the Python. There's also JavaScript, which is used a lot. Actually, Plotly Pi, right? That Python is built on top of Plotly.js, but it's really, really well known for its Python graphs that you can create. So there's over 100 graphs that you can create. You can actually go and do, let's say, statistical chart if you want to see more. And it gives you all the type of statistical charts that we offer, especially in Plotly Express, making it a lot easier and fast to create a graph. So here's an example of creating a basic histogram, right? We just import the data. In this case, it's built in, but we can import a CSV sheet or whatever in Pandas, and then in one line of code, we build a histogram, and then we show it. So that's Plotly. Plotly is the graphing library. And it's actually downloaded over 40 or 45 million times a month if you go to PyPy stats.
A month. That's that's impressive.
It's open source, so everybody uses it.
I'm assuming, like, and you mentioned download, just thinking of like syncing. Is there I would assume a Git repository or something for this to connect to, where you can keep in sync with updates or anything as the library changes?
Exactly. Okay. So it's on GitHub. If you go to Plotly's
Cool.
GitHub channel and then go to plotly.py GitHub repo, and then you'll see, and then the people can see updates, issues, pull requests, and what we're working on. So then in 2016, 17, we created something called Dash, another open source library that sits on top of Plotly, the graphing library. And this is for people for creating fully fledged analytics dashboards or data apps, whatever you want to call them. So here's a basic app, right? Very, very basic down below, just for tutorial purposes. We have our title, we have our radio button, we have our table, and every time we change the radio button, it actually changes the y-axis of this histogram, right? So now we have some interactivity between our controls, radio buttons, and our graphs. And so now we're starting to see, okay, this looks like a dashboard, right? And this dashboard is built completely in Python, meaning Dash, right? And what Dash gives you is the capability to add controls and interactivity to your graphs. So if you just use Plotly graphing library, you'll be able to add a histogram or a bar chart or a scatter graph, a scatter plot. But what if you want to have them talking to each other? What if you want to have a user give the user some controls, right? And drop downs and checklists and date pickers, all these controls that we have right here. Well, you're going to have to use Dash for that. You import into your page all the insert into your layout and the page, all the controls that you want. And then you use what we call the callback in Python, is very common, to actually connect between the controls and the graph. So you have a real live dashboard, right? That's open source Dash. And open source Dash also gets about, last time I checked, was 6.5, I think, million downloads per month. Very, very powerful library. Now, we had this for, and we still have it, and it's still very strong, and a lot of people use it. But then we said about a year ago or a year and a half ago, why don't we build on the wave of AI and make things even easier for people to get started, right? Because imagine you go into a company, or you are working at a company, and you're building dashboards with Dash, very powerful ones, and you're showing it for external use or internal use, and people love it. And it's very helpful to understand the strategies of the organization and where you want to go. But it takes time, right? A really sophisticated Dash app can take a few days, could take a few weeks, depending on how sophisticated you want it, and could be 2,000-3,000 lines of code. But we said, if we can get AI to write the initial lines of code so you can get started, people will love it. People will take advantage of it. And that's where Plotly Studio came into play. We say, you know what, we'll use the powerful LLMs under the hood. We'll build our own agent tooling, and then we'll have people create Dash apps, live data apps, using AI. So in English and Spanish and whatever language you want, you tell it what you want, and then it just builds it for you. And that's the point behind Plotly Studio, right?
Okay, I like it.
.com. And that's why we built Plotly Studio, really take advantage of the power of AI. And anybody wants to, I'm sure it's going to be under the video and description, but Plotly Studio is an application that you download to your computer, whether it's a Mac or Windows. You have the free, very, very generous free version. You start it, you install it, you start it, and then you'll get this, right? You won't get any project, so you don't have any when you just start. You will see the next page, which is create a new project. And we'll see this demo in a second, but this will allow us to build the data app that we want in a matter of minutes. I mean, it's going to take longer because I'm going to explain things, but in a matter of under 3 minutes, it will write like 2,000-3,000 lines of code, and it will create the Dash app for you, or the Plotly Studio app. Any questions here from you, Ray, or our audience before I show the demo of Plotly Studio?
I have some questions, but I think some of them might be answered just by once you start showing the interface and other things like that. So I'll hold a few until we start getting into the details.
Perfect. So let me jump into the meat of it. All right, why we are here. I wanted to show how we are able to connect. A lot of us are using Power BI and semantic models to build dashboards with Power BI. And Power BI is a powerful tool. But what if you can create the dashboards with greater ease and quicker on top of the semantic models that you have, right? The data that you have in Power BI. And so that's what I'm here to offer. That's what I'm here to show. This is an example. Let me just go to Power BI actually. 1 second. Okay, so we're going to work with this simplistic semantic model in my test workspace 1. This is what I call my workspace. It's a space mission data, right? And well, that's the name of the table. The name of semantic model space missions. And I had actually created an automatic report on Power BI based on top of this data. And this is what we have, right? Pretty nice charts. A few bar charts here about the sum of the price of the company. This is it's actually real data of rockets being sent to, or being built and sent to space from 1960 all the way to 2020 something. And later I'll show like the app that was built by a community member in Dash, which is very, very fancy. Sum of price by location and so on and so on. So this was an automated report. And then I built for us, Raid, this, right? Which we're going to go over and try to rebuild something similar right now in the demo. But this is an automated report as well, quote unquote, in Plotly Studio. And this took probably a minute once I clicked on create charts. And you can see that it gives a wide variety of charts here, right? Space mission over time, and you have some controls. You want to see all companies. Do you want to see only the successful missions or the failed missions? We see here missions success rate over time, right? Based on companies that you can choose from. And one more in the bottom, company launch cost comparison. If you compare Ariane Space or whatever company with SpaceX with a shared y-axis, you see the pricing per rocket, right? So very, very cool initial data insights. And a bit more comprehensive than this automated report that the Power BI generated for me. So how is this done, right? How did we do it? And then how can we enhance it and do more out of it? And then I'm going to show, remind me to forget, Raid, how we can actually, maybe we just really like a certain graph or two out of the Power BI report that we want to replicate. We want to do that in Plotly Studio. Well, we can try and do that as well today. So let's say you download it for free, and you install Plotly Studio. You open it on your computer, and this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the new projects page. So first, we have to connect to our data. We have 3 tabs here: data, app, and explore. The app is going to be the data app itself. The explore is just like what it says, like to explore different ways to add different graphs to our app. And then the data tab is the initial app. You have to connect some data to it, right? You can try some sample data. You can upload a CSV sheet from your computer or a Parquet file, a lot of people do. Or you can connect to major databases out there: Snowflake, Databricks, S3 buckets, MySQL. We are going to connect to Power BI. We haven't created that button yet. We'll probably do that in the near future. So what I did is I created a prompt, because what this is, Raid, is just a prompt. When I say connect to Snowflake, it's just telling our AI, our Plotly Studio AI, is just telling it, it's giving it a prompt. Connect to Snowflake using whatever, password, username, and try to find the databases in the table and return the schema, whatever. It's just a prompt. So I'm going to give a prompt to connect to Power BI. And this prompt has worked for me so far 90% of the time. So let's hope that it works again. Let's see. There we go. Copy it. Okay, so here's the prompt. I'm going to connect to. I'm asking Plotly Studio to connect to Power BI services. And Ray, remind me, I can share this prompt with you so you can share it with the community. Connect to Power BI services and the space mission semantic model. Remember, because our semantic model was called space missions, right here. Make sure it's spelled correctly and the hyphen and everything. In the test workspace 1, that's the name of my workspace, and I'm going to tell it to connect to the space missions data table, right, which is right here, space missions data table. So I'm telling it to do that, and I'm going to give it some extra help, saying for authentication, only use these credentials: tenant ID, client secret, cloud application. This is assuming that you have a service principal. If you register your application, you can also do this via username and password, but this is usually the safer route for on Azure and Power BI to work with data and dashboards. And that's it. So we're going to hit submit. And now it's going to create the credentials tab, or fill in the credentials tab, so you can actually fill in the credentials, right, that you need. We said tenant ID, we said client secret, and client application ID. So configure credentials, and let me plug those in there.
And with the code that's coming out, is that like kind of you could just look at the code, or can you go tweak the code?
Great question. Great question. Yeah, I'm going to show that in a second.
Okay, nice.
Let me just plug it in there. So while it does this thing, I can continue talking. Client ID and the client secrets. Okay. Client secret value. Okay, so I'm going to save credentials, and now it's going to do its thing and try to connect to my semantic model. To answer your question, right, so what it does, and this is, we're going to see this in the app tab as well, is generally how Plotly Studio works. You give it a prompt, right, in whatever language, and then it will actually create the specification out of that prompt, which is a lot more detailed prompt, right, telling Plotly Studio, the AI and the large language model, under the hood what it actually specification will appear here. Okay, it's working. What it actually needs, right? What it actually is going to do. So you see, it's much more detailed than my prompt. Obtain access token from Microsoft Azure, build some error handling, and so on and so on. And then on top of that, this is what it bases its decision on to write the code. So it's writing code, Python code, to connect to the to Power BI in this case, right? To the semantic model. So,
okay.
One second. There we go. So it wrote the code. And now, while I was talking, what was it, like 20, 30 seconds, it was executing the code using the credentials that I gave it. And you can always look at the logs to see what it's really doing under the hood, right? Especially if you get some errors or it gets stuck. So now we saw that the preview worked because it actually connected to our semantic model. You see here, we have, what is it? It's actually here. There's right there. We have these columns, and we can compare, right? If we go to the space mission data, why did it give us this column in? It's a bit different. Okay, let's see. The problem is that the table name contains a hyphen space mission data, which needs to be. Let me fix the query syntax. I encountered an error. Processing error request string object has no. Okay, let's see. Can you fix the error? Okay. Well, usually we can talk to it. At this stage, really a chat. Let's try continue. We go into the sims.
Yeah, because the tables will be in single quotes, and then square brackets would be the column reference, or at least the DAX language.
Okay. Well, let's see when I hit continue what it gives us. If it's still able to process the data the way that we gave it. And now that the data is in there, is going to create this interface, right? This is a user interface. This is going to be what eventually the dashboard is going to look like, right? Eventually it's going to be, where is it? Eventually it's going to be this, right? Or something similar. It always creates new charts and different charts, depending on what kind of charts you tell it to create. So, all right. So it's building the theme of the thing. It's building of the dashboard. It's going to give us some data cards, which is going to refer to these on top right here. These data cards are summary cards, similar to the report we had in Power BI. And then it's building some filter components, some global controls and filters. We have three options here, Ray, to explore suggestions, which is the Explore tab. Create a new visualization with just one single visualization. We can tell it what we want. Build me this graph with this on the y-axis, this on the x-axis, or something generic. Tell me, I need to see the correlation between rocket prices and company launches, whatever. And then it'll try to build a graph and a visualization, build a code that best responds or gives you a response to that question or that inquiry that you have. We're just going to generate 6 charts that it thinks is the best charts for now to start with, right? They're not necessarily the best or the best, but they're good charts to start with. And what it actually
one quick question as you're bringing this in, I just had to get the comments here working. There. I'll just read out the question. So from Jake is assuming that you have so far working with a single table. Does it work with a full star schema, full model design in Power BI, or do you have to pull like from one table at a time?
Great question, Jake. So right now, actually, we're going to have another webinar, a Plotly webinar on March 11th, where I'm going to show a little bit more of a sophisticated semantic model that has multiple tables, right? So what we could do, in that case, what we will do, and you can even do today, is you can connect that semantic model to Plotly Studio, and you can tell it, I have multiple tables there. Thank you. I have multiple tables there. But I see that these 2 tables, table A and table B, have a common column, right? Which is usually like the key column, right? Which is the customer ID, if it's sales, whatever. Please merge those 2 tables into one on top of that customer key ID. And Plotly Studio will do that, right? So we'll create the table that you wanted to create out of all the tables that exist there. And then it will build the data, the dashboard on top of that table that it created for you. I hope that answers the question.
I think so. I guess the other question too with the built-in measures that are in the model, does it have access to those, or?
That's a good question. I actually didn't have get a chance to actually look into yesterday. It
Okay.
should have access to the built-in measures and metrics. But you should test it out. Like anybody answering this question or watching this video now or later, in the data sources tab where we were just at, tell it. I have a, what is it called? Metrics or the measures
A measure, yeah.
measure. I have a measure called, let's see here, where is it? I have a measure. Well, this one I don't have, but the other semantic models do. I have a measure called whatever, monthly sales, right? Go in there and pull that data. And sometimes it's usually just one measure, just one value. So you can say, pull that data into the table that you already created and make a new column out of it, right? So this will be our total sales. And go into the other measure and make a new column out of that in the original table that we created. So you can stick and glue everything together into the table that you desire to create and then build on top of that. So
just a final follow-up on this one. Let me and here. So it sounds like this data is imported, or would it continuously pull from the model itself?
I'm not sure I understand. So I imported.
So is it getting a live feed of the data, or is it copying the data over and you have to like refresh it? Like each time you open this report, is it going to have the current data in Power BI?
It should. Each time you open this report, because it's connected through our credentials, if the semantic model has updated data, this should have updated data as well.
Okay.
And what you can do,
it's a live feed. Yep.
It's possible to do that. Here you can actually even click on the refresh button and you should be able to refresh the data, right? And if that's not working automatically, the refresh data that's coming in from the semantic model, it doesn't work automatically. You can go back to the data sources and we can create a prompt for that as well.
Okay. Cool.
That's actually a very good question. I'm going to try to talk about that in the next time I present this on March 11th. Great questions. Your audience knows what they're talking about. So here we have this is our version of automatic report, right? It created 6 charts that it thought would be very useful for the user of this data set, the data consumer, right? We have a mission success rate with confidence intervals, right? And you see it's different than the one we created before that I created yesterday. We have group by rocket, so we can group it by company or location. And then we get the success rate based on location with these confidence intervals. Seems like the best success rate is in California, and the worst is in Cape Carnival in Florida. Again, we'll have to check. Maybe there's only 3 rockets were sent from that space in the 60s, and then one didn't go well. Top companies by number of missions. We have Arianespace had close to 300 missions over time since the 60s, and Rocket Lab only had about 28. Maybe they went bankrupt, or maybe they're a new company that just started 5 years ago. Anybody using this data probably knows what they're doing, probably knows about this data a lot more, and could really interact with these graphs. So, right here we have our initial report, right? If you could compare it to the initial report from Power BI, it does look a little bit more interesting. There's more graphs there's more analysis than this. So that's why I was excited when I saw that. And now we want to say, maybe you know what? Let me show you the Explore tab. Before in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I'm going to try to recreate one of these things, one of these graphs. But let me show you a little bit, finish the overview of Plotly Studio. So people in your audience, people watching this might say, okay, cool, wow, we created a nice dashboard. Where can I go from here? Like, well, what else? What if I want to add graphs or edit graphs or whatever? So this is where we have the edit button right here. We can even open this to the side, and we can go to inside any chart that we want, or we can just click the edit button and it'll go there immediately. So we're going to try and edit, I don't know, yeah, let's do this. Edit this graph, which is the first graph. So it goes into our chart, into our card. And this is the most important thing to understand in Plotly Studio of how it works. So here we have a few things. We have our preview, right? We have 4 tabs here. We have our preview. We have the controls. These are like the global filters that we have on top of the whole app. And then we have our controls. We have our drop down, which is a year, quarter, a month. We can change it. which will change the graph, obviously, or we have all companies, or some of them, or all, right? And so we have the preview tab, we have the specification tab, which is like I told you, where it takes the basic prompt that we gave it, the very, very basic prompt. It gives a very detailed specification, a much detailed prompt, on top of which it builds the code to create this card, right? With all with the line chart, with the drop downs. This is all Python and Dash. It gives you some logs in case it has to filter the data. You know what data it's filtering and how it's filtering the data, so it's not taking data away that it's not supposed to take, or slicing data that it's not supposed to slice. And then you have your graph. But what you can say is, you know what, I want to edit this because I'm not really happy with this, with granularity like this. What is this, monthly? It doesn't look good. I don't want users to have even the option to use a monthly drop down time frame. It's just it doesn't look good. So I want to keep it either at quarterly or year. So to do that, you're editing the graph. So to edit a graph, you have to go to the initial prompt, and you have to find where it does that, right? X data, group by year, date, perfect, y-axis, group by year, all data, cumulative emissions, options, drop-downs. Just select time granularity, year, and quarter. We're going to take a month out of there. We're going to just erase it. We're default into year. Drop that to filter company, I can look at the specification, and then let me hit play. I'm going to hit this submit button, and this should successfully submit the change, right? Because you only change one small thing. So the code should look pretty much the same, right? Because you didn't really tell it to change anything, just the default in the drop. Now, sometimes you got to be careful. Sometimes you got to make sure that in the specification, you also need to update things depending on what you want to update, right? Because the specification has a lot more information on what is changing. For example, the dropdown said year and quarter, but what if there was another dropdown or another something else that talked about it needing the quarter, the monthly time frame to do some things? Well, you got to make sure that we remove monthly, so remove it from there as well. And you can do that by copying this or whatever part of the specification you want, and just add it, or copy the whole thing, it doesn't matter, and just add it to the prompt, to the main prompt itself, right? It's just a prompt. It's just a longer prompt, right? And then you can just change it however you want. So we changed. Let's see if it worked. All right, year. I'm going to move this to the side, and now we have year and we have quarter. So it worked, right? There's no monthly. We removed monthly for there. We didn't want it. Same company, same everything. And now this is version, and it actually wrote you the code. This is the code to actually execute this. And then the preview is here. And so this is version 2. Now, some people some people say that, are like, wait, but I made that change, but actually Plotly Studio didn't really, I regret it. It's not the change that I really wanted, or it's not exactly what I wanted, and maybe I should explain myself better. You can reiterate again. You can go back to the prompt and say, whatever, you can change things again, or you can just say, no, it's really completely different than what I wanted. Let's go back to version 1. And you go back to version 1, you can say instantly restore if you're happy with, if it's actually version 1, right? You just got to view the previous version, let it load. And it should go back where the dropdown has, what did we remove? Monthly, right? Okay, this is actually what I wanted. Let's just restore this, and let's just keep it, right? So that's the versioning. That's our version of Control Z, right? Because if you put a prompt,
yeah, exactly,
you changed it, like you have to undo. Well, now you can just go to the previous version. So it's going to be called version 3, right? Because it's the third time it's doing it. Every time it does it, it consumes a little bit of AI credits, but you get a nice amount of AI credits when you first sign up for free. All right, so we change it back to months. So it's going to be like the original one, and then we can go back here to the app summary to see the whole app again, right? So this is how you edit graphs. You can edit other things. You can edit the data summary cards. You can enter the filters, the theme. Maybe you don't want yellow over black. You want a different theme. And you can add a table. Maybe you want to see a table of something, and so on and so on. And like we said, we'll do this in a sec. One last thing you can do, well, not last, but one of the things, you can always upload the restart preview. If it didn't preview the app correctly, or you found an error, just restart your preview. You can go into the layout, like a drag and drop we have, right? What if we want the last two graphs to be on, no, the first two, we want them to be on one mission count over time. We want them to be on one row. Well, we can
I
just
do like
that.
the schematic layout. That's like essentially the summarized version of what the actual page looks like. That's nice.
Yeah, yeah. And then you can hide. Maybe you want to publish, this is for you, but when you publish it, you want other people to see. You don't want them to see this one, hide component. Not interested, because the people who are going to see this shouldn't be seeing this graph, the fifth one. We'll do save.
So the only thing I might recommend on this that I don't see here is the, because I'm assuming these are all viewed from browser or app. Do you guys actually have an app, or is it just from like web browser when you're looking at these?
Good question. Good question. So what happens, and I'm going to cover even more of it in a second, but what happens, okay, so it loaded, did it do it? Okay, let's see if it works. Yeah, so the first two charts, 50-50, you see, well, let's remove this. 50%, 50%, so the first two are in one row, and the fifth one, great, we decided to remove, well, hide, not remove, mission success rate. So the mission space over time should not be here. Good. Yeah, that's the fifth one that's hidden right now. So, to answer your question, this is right now on my computer, right? The data is on my computer. Everything is on my files and on my Windows computer. You can view it in browser. You can click here. You can say preview in browser. Okay. So now you're going to view it on our local host, right? And now we can see it in the browser how it looks in more like real life on the browser. But this is only for you, right? It's a local host, like when you develop your Dash app. And later, when you're happy with this, which we're going to do in a couple of minutes, we can actually publish this. You can publish this to the web or to Plotly Cloud, and then you can share the link with anybody so they can see exactly this dashboard, right?
Okay. The curiosity on that a little bit is a thought on layout, which they do in Power BI, which if you don't do it yet might be a good idea, is having a separate mobile layout where you can choose to hide or show certain things. Because on desktop, you might have like extra cards that are, say, titles or this or that. And you might want it bigger, and you might want you'll have a different arrangement. True. So I could imagine like two layouts could be useful for like recognized. Oh, this is web mobile. This is web desktop type.
That's great advice. That's great advice. Yeah. We do try to make it screen responsive and mobile responsive.
Yep.
But even giving the user more controls, the header with the layout could be better.
Yeah, basically just like layout desktop, layout mobile. Yeah, because you just duplicate that and just have an easy flag to identify like is mobile, is desktop. Because the HTML can be responsive, but sometimes it will like stack in the wrong order or other stuff with those. So giving that user control could be really useful.
That's true. Last thing I wanted to show before we publish this thing, and I want to enhance this a little bit. So we have a couple ways of enhancing or adding to our automatically generated 6 graphs, right? First, one way is like we talked about before, is to just add a graph that you want. And let's actually try and do that. Let's go to we're going to, instead of adding something out of my head, we're going to take the Power BI report, and we're going to try and add that. We'll say add, I think we already had a sum of price by company. Let's try that. Okay, so we'll tell it, add a horizontal bar chart. That
once you're done with that too, I'd finish this up. I'll queuing up a few questions to pop up.
Add a horizontal bar chart that visualizes the sum of price by company with company on the y-axis. It can be as detailed as you want here, because you want to replicate in this case, I want to replicate what's in Power BI, and sum of price on the x-axis. Sum of price on the x-axis. Why sum of price on the x-axis? Yeah, I think this is good for now. And we can say add chart. So hopefully, it will Plotly Studio, the AI will understand the instructions fairly clearly. And like we said, Rate is going to build a specification, a much more detailed prompt to it. On top of that specification, it's going to write the code. And with that code, is actually going to create. So there's very little room for hallucination, right? Because if it's hallucinating, the code just won't work. It's writing code for you. And the code is what spits out the Plotly graphs and the drop downs. So while this is loading, let me try and answer some questions.
Yeah, I'll have one for me and then segue into the other two I've queued up. So what's the underlying LLM language that you're leveraging here? Is that a mixture of like GPT, Anthropic, Gemini?
Great question. Great question. So I think right now we're using one of Claude's large language models. I'm going to close this just so people see. So it created it. And I'll go back to that question. Total price by company. Let's see if it's exactly what our Power BI graph that we had. Sum by price in dollars, company on the y-axis, area and space has about 3.7. Let's see here. Area and space 3.7 billion. Yeah. So it created Astra at the end. It created a good. We were successfully replicated our Power BI graph in Plotly Studio. Great. So to answer the question, we are the large language models that we're using is one of the ones most recent ones from Claude. And we test it. The thing is, we have our agent. Everything is ready to build this, and we can choose the LLM that we want. So far, we've been using...
you can drop down like, all right, I want to use this model, or like, I think this has a tendency to know me better on like my asks. I would prefer this model instead. So you do have a model selection.
No, but Ray, let me explain. Let me clarify. We can do that. As Plotly, as our engineers, as a company, we can say, we want to use that LM, because what we do, we test it every couple times a week. We test with over 100 data sets to see which model not only is faster, but which model also gives us better accuracy and better graphs. And if we realize one day in one of our tests that Gemini does a better job, Anthropic, whatever, then we'll change. We don't have any issues changing. Now, can the user, is there a drop down here for the user to say use this or use that? No, we don't have that.
Okay,
maybe in the future. But what we do have with I think it's with paid versions, that you can bring your private LLMs into it, right? Well, some people are like, I don't, especially for the companies, I don't want to, some of these, not all of this data is really shared with the LLM. You'll get like the schema of the table of your missions, in this case, space missions, maybe the couple of first rows. So it's not completely hidden from LLM. LLM will see it a little bit. So if it's really high sensitive data, you probably want to work with your own private LLM that you have on your computer or on your servers, and that you can connect with a paid version of Plotly Studio.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like a little bit of that is you want to ensure that it's going to like accurately be able to both use the tool, read the data, and all that. So that's why you do the testing from your end.
Testing, not only read it accurately, but also quickly write 2,000 lines of code and write and give us the best graphs possible, right? And so far we've been using Claude.
And and then two questions from the audience, and then I'll show up here is the. One from Jake. Again, he's wanting to know what are some of the differences between Plotly specifically and like Vega or Vega Lite? They seem similar.
Jake, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I don't know Vega enough to be able to answer. I remember looking at it a couple of years ago. Pretty strong library as well. So I can't really do the comparison. What I do know, I don't know what comes on top of Vega. What comes on top of Plotly is natively built into Dash to build dashboards completely with Python, like you saw. And then on top of that comes Plotly Studio. So you can't go into Plotly Studio and say, okay, build me Vega graphs. It's building with Plotly. So that's if my friend came to me and asked, should I learn? Plotly and Vega both look like they have cool charts. Which one should I learn? I say, well, I would, if you want to build really sophisticated dashboard, I would learn Plotly, because later you can use the Dash and Plotly Studio to reiterate on top of those and to build like fancy dashboards. I don't know if you can do that with Vega.
Gotcha. Okay. And then last one for Nando is wanting to know, this was from when you clicked publish and everything earlier, is there any security for distribution? Like sharing?
So yeah, to some degree, yes. So what I'm going to show now is we're going to click publish. And while it publishes, it takes 2 minutes. I'm going to show you one last thing and hopefully answer Fernando's question. To show you some of the Plotly Cloud security measures that we have in there. So we are, actually, let me show you this tab. One last thing, Ray, I wanted to show you is this. In the Explore tab is where we give, the Plot Studio gives you some suggestions, like sometimes like 30, 40 suggestions of different graphs that you can create, right? Based on 13 years of experience as Plotly as a company and with data visualization, like we know our stuff, right? So we're going to give some suggestions. Okay, maybe you should build, these are the first 6 that you built automatically when you clicked generate charts, but here's some other ones that you can create. Lookup mission by rocket type, reliability growth model, and failure rate analysis. Sounds pretty fancy. It's actually part of the tool or calculator section. If we don't know exactly what it means, we can view the prompt, the initial prompt, not the specification, the initial prompt. Oh, so this is what Plotly Studio means. We're going to track how mission reliability improves over time using cumulative success metrics and It's going to be a line chart. It's going to be another line chart with some X and Y axis, some data, and so on and so on. Okay, seems cool. For the purpose of this demo, we're not going to go into every single line and try to explain it. We'll just generate that. We have some pivot tables here, mission count by company and rocket. Maybe we'll do, Ray, is there anything here that caught your eye when you were reading that you want me to click on? This information by company, mission count by location. You can try one more. Cost efficiency and trend analysis.
If there's anything that can be compared rather than just top 10s.
Yeah, good question.
Like an A versus B.
Let's see, comparison. Lookup. Lookup usually has compare side by side. Mission counts of rocket types, average mission cost of launch companies, mission success rates of launch.
Yeah, mission success rates could be a good one.
Okay, let's generate that. So, and the last thing I want to show you, while it's generating, you know that this is generating because if you go back to the app tab, you'll see these spinners. So they're still generating, right? We'll go back to the Explore. And one last thing I wanted to show, you can also try to regenerate via image. Let's see how well this works. Create from an image. So we're going to go to our PowerBI report. We're going to see these two things, sum by price of location and sum price by rocket, with the price on the x-axis and location and rocket on the y-axis. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to create a JPEG out of it. And then I'm going to load this image to Plotly Studio and have Plotly Studio to try and recreate it. So I pasted it here. I'm going to crop it. I'm going to save it. Save as. Image 20. Okay, so now we'll go back to Plotly Studio and we'll create from image. We'll click on create from image. I'm going to drag image 20 in there. Okay, so I dragged it in. You can give it some additional information. Recreate this, but put this on the x-axis, recreate this, but change the title, whatever. We'll just create the image because we want to replicate what we have on Power BI. And now it will try to actually do that. Okay, so created the prompt. We can view the prompt and see, okay, does this make sense to us? In the interest of time, we're just going to click generate. Sum of price on the x-axis. It was horizontal. And in the meantime, we'll see the other two that you asked, Ray, that you suggested we look into. The launch location success rate. So we had the initial prompt that we saw, which created the detailed specification, which created the code, and now it's going to preview the chart for us. Can I click on publish? No, let me have the last chart create before I can click on publish. 1 second. Publish. Okay, so this is a view of one of the charts. Interesting. Look at this. It's a reliability growth and failure rates analysis. Looks pretty fancy. This, I don't like how it looks like. You might need to change that a little bit. Okay, so this was one of the graphs. You can change by window size. Let's just do 10 missions. Group by rocket, or we can group by company. Probably fewer companies there. Okay, so that's one. Another one.
This is for percent. Yeah. It reminds me of the I'm completely spacing on the name of the chart. It's the one that shows the growth curve to meet 100%.
Oh yeah,
Wish
isn't
we
that the
recommended it.
C?
Because I've
Well,
done
no,
this with DAX before in Power BI,
yeah,
where there's a formula to get that specific line where across category or something like, how how many counts across do you have to get before you're getting that like 80% threshold?
yeah. I forgot that as
Pareto,
well.
thank you. It's a Pareto chart.
Pareto. Okay, you got good audience.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what you asked for, Ray. This chart, launch location success rate comparison. So we're comparing the shared y-axis, which is going to be the success rate, and we're going to see the Kennedy Center location and the Guyana Space Center location. So we see it's pretty small. I want to move this a little bit. No, let me make it bigger. 1 second. Okay, so we see in Kennedy Center, we only had 2 launches, 97%, 97, and 100%. And the Guyana, maybe we'll change it. Guyana have 97%, 96, 95, depending on the location in Guyana. I want to change this to maybe somewhere. Cape Carnival in the USA, Florida. Here we go. So depending on, I forget what the LC means. Maybe it's a certain, it's a rocket, isn't it? 65% success rate. So this is a comparison. I wish I had more time to really dig into the data. Oh, and let's see the last thing that we created, which was the image. Let's see if it actually created the image. We wanted to create this image, these two, into one graph. And so we created this. Oh, it gave us a drop down. Instead of 2 separate graphs, it created it was location and rocket. It gave us a drop down of that could and put everything into one graph. So we can see the top N. This is by total price by location, or we can see total price by rocket, the top 10, you see, and we get the same data. Falcon 9 with 1.3 billion. See if it's accurate. Falcon 9, 1.3 billion. Yep. So it's exactly the same data. And we can actually see top 10 or top 15 or top 20. So anyway, let's answer the question that was it Fernando?
Yes.
Sorry if I'm mixing the name. We'll publish it. We're going to publish it to the cloud because we really like how our app looks like. We're happy with it. We replicated the graphs that we wanted. Now we're going to publish to our cloud account, which you open again as soon as you install Plotly Studio. You open the cloud account also for free, and the free version will allow you 1 app running at a time. You can publish to the cloud like 10 apps, but only 1 can run at a time. The next paid version, I think you can have as many as you want or a very nice amount, but the beginning is 1 at a time. So I just clicked on that. So we're going to go to cloud. We're going to go to our browser. I think I had it open. Plotly Cloud. So this is my cloud account. You see this one I did yesterday, and we just did Space Mission. You see how it says building? This is our cloud account. You'll have nothing there if you're just starting, or audience members watching this. You'll have nothing in your cloud account because you just started this. And so you see that it's still building. And here, you can go to the settings. Eventually, you'll click on the eye and you'll be able to view your app. But in the settings, you'll be able to change things. So we'll go to sharing, and this answers some security questions, right? You can say anyone with a link can view, right? Now, it doesn't really matter that much because the link is right now is where's the link? App name, app URL. So this is our link, right? Just a random set of numbers. So if we do, I mean, we can update this. I can't remember what is paid and what is not paid, but you can update and you can up the name. You can say space dashboard. Space dashboard .plotly.app. Save. So now you updated the name. And the sharing, let's go back to the sharing. You can see anybody can view, or you can say no access. But if you give no access, meaning only you can see this, so it's obviously more secure, you might want to add certain team members. Upgrade, well, you have to upgrade your plan. I think it's $29 a month or something. And then you can choose certain emails and say, I want these 5 people to be able to see only these 5 people with these emails to be able to see my app. And whenever they'll go to the app, they'll be able to see it. Let's see here. This is my app, space dashboard.plotly.app. And I have to log in because I did, what do you call it? I want to have it open to everybody.
All right. Now, once you're ready to, I'll queue up some questions from a few people in the audience once you're done with this part.
Sure. Let me just log in. Okay, so here's our app that we just created, our data app with the side-by-side and the last one from the image that we recreated from Power BI. I'm pretty excited about this. I've been doing this for like 10, 15 times, but it's really, really cool. All right, so what are the questions, Ray?
Yeah, so let me pop up the first one. Would you be able to provide a picture with colors you're interested in to create a theme for this? So basically it's like just something that just has a color palette. It could be a photo, anything like, hey, can you create a theme file based off of what you find as the common patterns in this?
That's a great question. I've never tried that, Fernando. You're tackling me with some challenging questions. But what I could say, what I would try to do to tackle this, I would say, a picture with the colors you're interested to create the theme. So I don't know if Fernando is meaning the theme of the card, the graph, or the theme in general of the whole data app. And in that case, you will go to themes, and Fernando, you might be able to do something like this in the prompt itself. You would say, please, you can't upload an image here, but you can try and tell it, please connect to my image on xxxx.com, right? Wherever that image is, image one. It's somewhere online, right? You can put images online that are accessible. Try, like what you said, Fernando, try to copy the theme and imitate the theme in this dashboard, right? And then it will try to do that, right? It has, you can tell it has green, bluish themes, whatever. And then it might be able to connect, because I've seen people connecting to certain logos online and adding their logos to the front page, to right here on top somewhere. So that should be possible. What's the next question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to queue each one of them up. And I can help answer this. It'll be about the DAX measures again. So the model that he's using at the moment is it's a single table with a built-in aggregation column versus a measure. But I think you were saying is you think that Plotly can access the measures if you had one in the model. Yes.
I think so. So you will go back to the data, and you would say here there's this Power BI connection. The semantic model has X measure name added to our table here as the last column. So it might. I haven't tried it yet, but anybody watching us, if you're successful with it, please let Ray know in the comments under the video, and I will check him, and I would be happy to read them as well and see if it works for you.
Perfect. And last question will pop up from Fernando. If you're using the paid version and you're sharing with people, is this sharing with like an Active Directory, or are these users in the Plotly platform itself?
Great question, Fernando. I think it's email addresses for sure. And I don't know if the only thing I don't know yet, but I can make an assumption, is that you're giving it access to their email address. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will be able to automatically see the app. I think they would have to go into Plotly Cloud, open an account on Plotly Cloud, which is a free account, and then they would be logged in to the Plotly Cloud account, and then they would be able to see it. Log into the Plotly Cloud account, the free. Well, it's free. There is a Plotly Cloud, and then be able to see the app that you sent and you share it with them.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
Cool. So this one second. I wanted to show you that's the app, the overview of the cloud. Okay, what else in the cloud? I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So you can add specific members with the upgraded version. You can remove Plotly logo. The free versions will have a Plotly logo on there. You can review log. Okay, here's where you stop them, right? Remember I told you in the free version of Cloud and Studio, you can have as many apps as you want, but only one working at a time, right? Look at my own apps here. I obviously don't have a free version, a more advanced one, but I have multiple apps. I have like 38, but I only have 4 that are running right now. So what you would have to do if you have a free version just go into the ones that are running and just turn them off. If you just want to use a free version, just go action and stop, right? And that will stop it because in the free version, you can only have one app running at a time. Upgrade the plan, team members, and then in general, I showed you can update your name, you can update the URL, and you can delete your dash up like this. And then it's a team, right? You actually, when you're on the cloud, you're actually the team creator, and you can invite team members to join your team as well as you advance and make more things. So that's my spiel. This is what I wanted to show everybody regarding semantic models and Plotly Studio and how you can get all of this is like 2,000 lines of code. With more, there's more graphic, probably like 2,500. And if I just did this without explaining every single step and button, this would probably be done in like 5-6 minutes. So that's what's so powerful and incredible about Plotly Studio. You can connect to any data source you want, right? Here we showed Power BI, but you can connect to Snowflake, Databricks, MySQL, MS SQL, and so on and so on.
Let me pop this code, and I might need to answer this one. So let me just read it on. Yeah. So users do not need a Power BI. So like from a licensing perspective, the model will need to be in a workspace that can have the endpoint enabled. So that will be one requirement. But maybe so how did you, can you explain a bit more about from your end, the connection that you use, did that require a Power BI Pro license for you to be able to connect to the model?
Great question. Maybe you can help me answer that. Right now, no, because what I did, I created a free trial account in Power BI, right? So I have a 60-day free trial, but I'm assuming, and then I created, again, you can, and then I put my semantic model up there, created my semantic model, and then one way to connect the model to Plotly Studio is through username and password. Instead of telling it client ID and client secret, just use my password, and it was able to connect it. The other way, which is like, from what I understand is a more secure way, is I registered the app. I did app registration, and then I created a service principal, and then I made the API talk to that workspace, and everything was done with a trial method. Once my trial time ends, I think in about 35 days, I'm assuming, Ray, that I would have to at least upgrade to the initial plan, whatever that is.
Yeah, so this would essentially did just follow any standard external reporting credentials. Like, if you have a full capacity that was connecting, I'm just explaining this to the audience. Like a lakehouse or a warehouse, you could have a SQL endpoint connection technically that's separate. Regular authentication could work, which would give you, in theory, the role of a security. Or to his point, if you had a service account or something else, you could potentially do that. But it would follow similar principles where if you were connecting Tableau to a semantic model or just any other external reporting tool, all of those either licensing or capacity requirements should be identical here.
Yeah. And also one thing I forgot, but this question reminded me, is that Plotly Studio in Power BI, I think that you have to pay by number of viewers. Here, if you make the app like viewed by anyone, right, where we had it here, right here sharing, and we said anyone with a link can view. It doesn't matter if you have 10 people viewing it or 1 million people viewing it. You're paying the same price, which is in this case.
Granted, like most reports usually have sensitive data you wouldn't want to usually do that with. But
if you have
doing, but if you're doing a public website report or something, for sure, it's equivalent to like a publish to web in Power BI, where you can just take the report and throw it onto like a dashboard page or something.
True.
Let's see. There's another question. I'll see if I can queue up here. Some good ones from Aurora. All right, pop this up. And so one Plotly app gives access to visuals on one data connection only. If I have a second file and visuals on that can be in the same app or separate. So essentially, like, can you combine multiple data sources into a single app? Snowflake and Power BI and a few others.
And not currently, Aurora. I think this is something that we're working on and maybe in the future we'll have. Actually, I'm pretty sure we'll have that in the future. Right now, it's one table at a time. This is a table. So you can say this is built on top of this table. And let's say this table, we merge different columns from different tables into one table. Okay, then we're building on top of this table. But let's say you have another data set that's in Snowflake. You can try to connect to it, and it will connect, but eventually, and it will create a new table here, create table number 2, the Snowflake table. So you'll have to choose in the dropdown which table you want to build on top of in order to build your dashboard. Or you can try, and I've not tried this before, you can try to connect between the tables if those data sets are talking to each other. But right now, it's like one data set at a time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because there's a lot of joins and other stuff that you would essentially have to start. You'd have to turn this into a modeling platform if you actually did that versus just accessing models.
Yeah.
That's a lot harder. So. Very cool. Anything else you want? Like, I can switch back to our conversation screen unless you had anything else you wanted to show here.
No, this is all I wanted to show.
Perfect. Let me pop that back over here. Yeah, this is a really cool overview, I think, of a lot of different things, and I do like the programmatic approach you can have through the prompts, utilization of templates, and it seems like there's quite a lot of cool features, and it's plug and play applicability seems to be pretty cool.
Yeah.
People are wanting. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for saying that, Raid. We're getting a lot of good feedback. This is fairly new, right? The Plotly Studio is from probably the summer of 2025, and this data sources feature capability to connect to any data set out there, any database, is something that we only launched about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So really excited about it. We're getting a lot of good feedback. A lot of people from other communities are starting to use this because they realize how fast and quick and reliable these dashboards are. So yeah.
One last little question, I think, from Greg. See if I can pop this up, and then we'll all use that to wrap up.
And I can share a few things, Raid, also about like the community.
Please. Yeah. Oh yeah, and I know you mentioned you had a couple of things to share at the end of this. We'll do that too. For enterprise running both Power BI and Python heavy workflows, how have you seen customers typically splitting responsibilities?
Raid, is this question for enterprise? Is this question for me or for you, for like the Power BI enterprises?
This would probably, I'm going to translate this to say for enterprises running both a hosted modeling platform and Plotly, how would customers typically split responsibilities?
You know, I don't know the answer to that, Greg. Well, what I'll do is I'll take this to, because this is in the YouTube comments. I'm going to take this to one of my colleagues and see what's the best way to answer, and then I'll go back to the YouTube video, Greg, and I'll answer your comment.
Perfect. Excellent. Yeah, and you mentioned as well some upcoming community events, I think.
Yeah. So Plotly community, we meet on a monthly basis, virtually, a monthly meetup of the month, the last Thursday of every month. And we have app challenges that we do on our with Plotly and Dash and Plotly Studio that we publish on LinkedIn on our forum. So just go into our like plotly.com, plotly.community.com, or just Google us. And all these events, and we have the March 11 webinar, which I'm going to do something similar to what I did right now with Ray, but with more sophisticated semantic models with multiple tables and merging of them. And that's on March 11. And so if you want to see everything that's going on with the community, if you want to join the community, just go to plotly.com/events, and you'll see the calendar, or go to the forum, or just find me on LinkedIn on Discord, and I'll be happy to welcome you.
Perfect. And the link to that that you gave me will be down in the description for anybody wanting to check that out later. Otherwise, if people is there any trial? I might have missed this earlier. Anything else? If somebody wanted to get started and explore in Plotly Studio, just to like poke around in it,
free. It's a nice free version. When you first download and install it, you have a nice amount of AI credits that you can get, and you can start building 1 or 2 apps on Plotly Studio.
Okay. Excellent. Perfect. That'll make it easy for people to then explore it a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. And yeah, so the translated question Greg was saying is what he was asking for. So essentially the split of responsibilities between the hosted data platform, whatever that might be, and then like the responsibilities for people managing the Plotly platform, for you to ask your colleague later.
Okay.
But otherwise, it looks like all questions are answered in the chat. So I think we're good to go from there. Yeah, and I want to thank you for taking your time on to come and share a lot of this stuff. It's definitely been fun, and I learned a lot about the platform as well. So
Thank you, Ray. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me here. You have a wonderful audience with very good questions. I hope Aurora and Fernando, they keep on coming back, and Greg, to future videos because they're really good questions. And I hope to see you around the Plotly community as well.
Perfect. Then have a great rest of your afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all in the next stream.
Bye-bye.